Most financial advice starts with the same assumption that every one of us processes money the same way. But for millions of people and their families, this assumption misses something important. What does managing money actually look like when your brain is wired differently? Welcome back to the Money Talks podcast. I'm Andrea Heng. Now, today we're going to talk about neurodivergence and finances. It's a conversation that matters whether you're a parent trying to teach a child about money, or you are an adult that recently got diagnosed, or you're a family member who's trying to help out, but you want to do it without overstepping. So in the Money Talks hot seat today is Faith Teo from the Sector Development team at SG Enable's Enabling Academy. Faith, good to have you on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's start with the basics, okay? Just for the benefit of the audience who may or may not know what neurodivergence actually is. When we say neurodivergent, we are talking about quite a wide spectrum here, right? We have ADHD, autism, dyslexia, so many more in between.
Yep.
Are there common ways that neurodivergent individuals from this wide spectrum tend to relate to money that parents and caregivers should understand?
That's a great question. So when we talk about neurodivergent, it's not just a spectrum. Broadly within the Singapore context, we see people across the spectrum, but in two very big categories. So the first one would be your mainstream children with special needs, individuals with mild special needs to sometimes moderate special needs, but they are able to navigate the mainstream schools and mainstream societies. And then in another bucket, which is the bucket that generally SG Enable serves, is your what we call the communities within the disability sector.
Okay.
And in this community, again, there's a spectrum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we do have individuals who acquired disability.
I see.
We also have individuals who are on the moderate to profound spectrum across all types of needs and learning needs and intellectual disability, autism, etc. So with such a wide range, normally they have very different experiences with money in general, because of their access to community, that's one.
Okay.
As well as their developmental stage. So let's talk about the ones within the disability sector first,
Sure.
right? They usually go through special education schools,
Yes.
which means typically speaking, developmentally, they are unlikely to be on a linear space to develop. So think of it like a spider web graph.
Okay.
Perhaps the development in social is a bit slower for one particular individual, but then in terms of numbers, this individual is highly sensitive and
I see.
attuned,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
And this individual could be 8 years old. But then if you look at an 8 years old with mild special needs in the mainstream sector, then likely the developmental is slightly more linear.
I
mean,
see.
none of us are truly linear in development, right? But when it comes to our sector in disability sector, they generally don't develop linearly. So then if they do not develop linearly, there is a good chance that money may or may not be in their lives since young.
I see. So you're talking about access to money itself.
Yes, access to money, as well as because perhaps they're also struggling with other areas of daily living skills. Therefore, for some of their caregivers, introducing money is not a priority.
I see. Is it because it tends to be quite an intimidating subject? I mean, money already is an intimidating subject, right? Is it more so for neurodivergent people?
Maybe some of the caregivers may be a bit more protective.
I see.
With money, there's a lot of things can happen, right? We've seen some cases of children with autism where when they start understanding that money can get you things, they may start bribing their friends to be their friend.
I see.
But that could
because
lead
it's a
to-
transaction for
Yes,
them.
yes. But then it could lead to bullying.
Yeah.
Right, so-
because
so-
and they can't tell.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So they may have difficulty that theory of mind that, if I give my friend money, then this person will be my friend. But it
I
doesn't work
see.
that way.
Yes.
So in that sense, caregivers can get a bit more protective.
Of course.
That's one.
Of course.
The other one is caregivers may be so taken up, their mind space is just taken up by a lot of different developmental needs that are going on.
Of course.
Checkups, visits to therapies, so many goals they need to learn that money may not be one of the things that they think about.
Right.
Yeah, but in today's world, why financial literacy is important? Because we are moving so fast into the digital space.
Exactly.
Right?
Even us regular folks,
Yeah.
we can't catch up, let alone
Correct.
people in this community, right?
Yes. So then in that case, we need to start teaching from replica notes and coins, because neurodivergent learners in general, they do best with concrete items.
I see. So they need
To make-
tactile environments to
Yes,
let them
they need
learn.
the actual notes and coins. If parents can, that would be the best.
I see.
And then from there, you slowly transit them to practice in different communities and all that.
Has Monopoly money been a useful tool then for some families?
Perhaps,
Yeah.
but I think in our program, what we do is we actually have different sized notes as well as 3D coins.
I see.
Yeah,
see.
so it's like play lah. It's like pretend
yeah,
play.
and then I think different size notes have different values.
Yes,
attached to
and then
it.
there's the number on it.
Yeah.
So as much as possible, we do want to use real or replica items rather than Monopoly money. But definitely, if a school is thinking of introducing Monopoly money as part of play, I don't think there's any harm to that.
Okay, that's fascinating. Okay, I didn't think about that. All right, so what about habits and behavior? So when it comes to handling money, what kind of spending habits run through their mind when they handle money for other kinds of actual transactions in the real world?
Depends. Again, this one depends on the age of this neurodivergent
Sure.
child we are saying, right? So let's start from, let's say, within a primary school setting where you have children with special needs. Parents may give them pocket money to spend. Although I understand that may not be the case. They may use smartwatches nowadays as
Correct,
well, right?
yeah.
So in a school setting, there are things that perhaps parents cannot control because it depends on how the school does it.
Sure.
So outside of that, some younger kids may not have the opportunity to, say, do money transaction.
Correct.
Maybe because parents are protective.
Yeah.
Or maybe the environment is so fast-paced at certain places. Parents say, never mind, I just buy for you lah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then they wouldn't have that experience to spend money, to use money. And then when you finally give them that opportunity to do it, they may just spend it all at one go because they want to get something.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, so that is some of the things where we call it delayed gratification. They perhaps don't understand that they need to ration the money across a week.
Yeah, correct.
Right? So with kids with behaviors, they show behaviors where they still don't really understand. Then perhaps as a parent, we may not want to give a whole week's worth of money.
Yeah.
We may want to give perhaps just day by day.
Yeah.
And maybe helping them to segregate that money into 2 different pouches. Maybe this pouch is for recess time, this pouch is for CCA.
So
it's more
can help as a parent.
Yes, as a parent you can help.
But not to the point where I'm missing out on teaching you the value of money.
Yes.
Right.
Because in order for them to learn something, in order for any child to learn anything, they need to have opportunities to practice, not just in one setting, not just always the same food court I go to.
So consistent exposure.
In different settings. Yeah, that's one, right? So for mainstream experience, that could be one thing the younger ones face. And then when they move on to secondary school, they have longer hours, which means they are likely going to get more money from parents. And then if you think about it at that age, neurodivergent teenager in secondary school, they are not going to like it if you give them pouches.
Because it's not cool,
It's
Mom.
not cool anymore, right? They just want a cool wallet.
Yeah.
So then it's about perhaps having that conversation at home, building up from your primary school days to how can you ration your money, and perhaps also letting the child go through small consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you spend all your money, I don't know, by Wednesday, Thursday you have no more food, perhaps you have to bring food from home. So that would be broadly your mainstream experiences. For the disability sector, it's largely quite different. If your child goes through special education schools, while there are food stalls there, and special education schools do host learning journeys for children into the community.
I see.
Yeah, but even then, while schools do try their best to make things happen, to teach in classroom and outside of classroom, parents could also take opportunities on weekends, perhaps once a week, to bring them to different places, to buy food, do money exchange, to help them through that experience.
Yeah. And it helps them get familiar with the process because familiarity is a very important thing for...
And generalization.
Exactly.
To generalize the skill set.
Here's the thing though, I'm wondering if investing is also a concept. Because here at the Money Talks podcast, we talk about 3 pillars, right? Spending, saving, investing. Is investing something that, that is prioritized in the neurodivergent community, especially when it comes to teaching them these concepts? Because it's quite intimidating. It's quite scary, plainly speaking. Yeah.
So for looking at different things in FinLead in general for the neurodivergent community, we always start with helping families identify and prioritize their needs and wants. And every family is different, right? While we do have certain resources on investment, it is not targeted at a get-rich scheme. I think that's something I always tell the caregivers. Don't get excited when you see the module. It's not telling you what to buy, where to get rich. It's more of really looking at each family and seeing what life stage are they at.
Okay.
I think that's very important. Because if a family, perhaps they might be on financial assistance, some of the single families that we've come across in our workshop, they do bring up certain valid points like, I live paycheck to paycheck. Cannot even save money. How to think about other things, right?
Correct.
So that's where, and they brought up a good point, cannot even save money because after they spend each month, it's the next paycheck.
And I think some of these expenditures can really be more so than the average family, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So with this, we had one single mom in one of our workshops where she shared that because her husband had passed on and she had a typical daughter and a daughter with special needs.
Right.
So she came forward after the workshop and said, I literally don't have money left. If I don't go into negative, that's great.
Wow.
So then you talk about savings, what you want me to do, right?
Yeah.
So I think with that, we actually tweaked our workshop materials in the next workshop to share with parents that savings is not about how much you have at the end of the day when you first start. It's about building a habit.
Yes.
So with this particular lady, what we eventually did was we kind of shared the idea with her that how about you just build a habit? You go and buy food, right? Then you left 10 cents, 20 cents. Keep lor. Yeah, just put in a jar.
Yeah.
So I think she started that and she's been coming for some of our workshops. Sometimes the same topic, she will come again. And then she shared that, it works.
Wow.
We now can save up, to buy a small treat, perhaps a bag of chips that is luxury item for them.
Right. So it's essentially the same concept that we talk about on the podcast in terms of the advice that we get from various guests, right? Building habits.
Yes.
It's not just about building wealth, it's about building habits. So it's the same concept.
Yeah.
Being taught to people
It
in
is,
the
it
neurodivergent community.
And not just that, like for families like that, single mom and all, right? Single parent or things they're just thinking about the future.
Yes.
A lot of times we may not jump into investment modules. We won't even discuss that.
Of course,
it's about the future care planning. And there are various CPF schemes available as well for parents to think through. Investment, however, is something for certain families that we do meet in our interaction with them that these parents have everything set up, their LPA wills, everything.
Right.
And then they come in and they say, oh, should I invest for my child and all that? Then that's where we say, we're not here, we are not that kind of experts to tell you that.
Yeah.
But pedagogically, when we think about FinLead investment and all that, it's about perhaps parents, you may want to share with your child simple things. What exactly is investment? For example, investment cannot be your savings. You cannot see investment as savings.
Right.
Savings has to be savings alone, emergency savings, saving for medical and all that. So we do share across these things to highlight to parents. And I remember when we shared that savings is not investment, parents was like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah. So I just want to paint you a couple of scenarios now, Faith. I'm thinking about the people, the families of neurodivergent people. A, it's the children. B, it's the adults.
Adults with neurodivergent?
Yeah, or who may be diagnosed quite late in life, for example. And we know many of them. So for a parent of a neurodivergent child, what is the simplest first thing that they can teach when it comes to finances?
With the younger group of children, let's say we look at the group in mainstream schools, the really young ones, the idea parents can teach across is, first of all, what is money?
Okay.
What does money look like? That awareness can buy you things and all that. The next concept is really for very young kids, needs and wants might be very abstract for them.
Yeah.
So then perhaps for the really young ones, parents might want to then say, oh, we ate 3 meals today, we did our groceries.
Right.
These are the leftover money. Let's just save. And then saving is just a habit.
So it's a real life example
real
that
life
you can
example.
show them, right?
Yes. So as parents, they could just set aside a jar at home, transparent jar, just save the money. And there is no goal to it and all that. It's just saving for a rainy day. Very basic, right? And then from there, if perhaps parents will start noticing children say, oh, the jar is full of money already, I want to buy things. Then the parents can say, okay, great, these are our emergency savings.
Yep.
Let's look at savings for things that we want. So maybe one item, just one, could be chips, could be a game, and it depends on how much and how fast, right? Then set a routine for saving. Shall we do 10 cents every day or 50 cents every day? Start something where the child can achieve.
And participate in.
Yes. So then that's for really the mainstream children
Sure.
who are neurodivergent. Parents can try that. From there, if the child starts to understand, oh, when I save, I can get something.
Yes.
They start to make that cognitive connection,
I
right?
see.
Then perhaps move on to, oh, savings is not just for buying things.
Yeah.
We have to save for medical needs. Perhaps if you have a pet at home, save for your pet dog or pet cat's medical needs
Yeah.
or treats or food. Get them involved. It's a whole family thing, really.
Yeah.
And then as they grow slightly older, when they are ready to dwell into needs and wants, which is abstract, right? Parents can start with conversations.
Yeah.
And the goal of it is not to always be directive and teaching. The goal of it is they must engage in the conversation with the parent. So let's say if they buy bubble tea, they buy soda, can start the conversation of, do you think this is a need or a want?
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. It's actually very simple,
Yeah.
right?
It's very simple. So start
Yeah.
from there. And maybe for a young child, they may go, oh, it's a need. I need bubble tea because I love bubble tea.
Some people will argue that.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
right. And then it's not so much for us to quickly say, no, that's a want, it's not a need, things like that. It's oh, you think it's a need?
Why?
Share. Tell me more why.
Yeah.
And then the child will give their examples, and then you can see it from their perspective.
Yeah. And the way they rationalize is
Yes,
also
the way
going to
they
be very
ration-
different.
Yes. So, for example, one of the workshops that I've been to when we were doing observations with the schools, right? I had a learner. He's in special school, but because he's in special school, cognitively he is about a mainstream
I see.
8-year-old.
Got it.
Cognitively, right? And he has this really fancy watch.
Okay.
So I went up to him, and part of the workbook, one of the examples was luxury watches are a want.
I see.
For the children, right?
Okay.
So I went up to him and I remember I was just pointing to his watch and I say, hey, this one need or want? And he looked at me seriously and he said, this is a need. I said, oh, interesting. Can you tell me more?
Yeah.
He said, I have a heart problem. Mommy uses this to measure my heart rate every day for doctor.
So it really is a
It
need.
is a need.
Right.
So with that, we were like, oh, okay, actually this is something we want to capture and tell parents. Sometimes it's not about teaching.
Yeah.
Right, teaching, they would have learned that in schools and all that. Sometimes it's about contextualizing for them.
Yes, contextualizing is the perfect word for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these are really your younger group of children. Parents
Okay.
can build it into conversation. And the idea is not to praise for accuracy.
Yes.
I always say that. It's the praise for participation. Oh, thank you for sharing with me your thoughts. But I think that, this is a...
And that teaches them also to accept differing opinions about certain things, right? Which opens their mind up to really how the world works. It's just
priorities. It's about
correct.
priorities.
Yeah, and it's just a different way of having that same conversation you would have with a typical kid.
Yes.
That's children, that's younger people.
So you have the older ones.
Yes.
Right? So the older neurodivergent crowd,
Right.
let's say if they are in mainstream secondary, your IHLs and all that, they usually like to have a bit more autonomy.
Yes.
But as parents up to a certain age, there should still be some boundary. For example, if you're going to purchase something above a certain value, we need to discuss it as a family, right? To set certain boundaries, healthy boundaries, to help. And it's about also helping them understand that now that you're older, you get a bit more money. Let's talk about budgeting. How do we budget? If you want something, perhaps next time mommy's and daddy's birthday, shouldn't be us buying the cake, right? Can you chip in? You're part of the family too.
That's right.
Yeah, simple things.
So you're
like
learning
that.
responsibility as well,
Yes.
contributing to the family.
Simple things.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. So it could be that, as well as if they're going into looking for part-time jobs. I think this one parents brought up to us a lot. So we have parents coming in and their kids are going to ITE and all that.
Yes.
And then they say, oh dear, my kids are going for internship.
Yeah.
And they are paid in a few hundreds of dollars. And then they tell the parent, I just need to work for 2 months and I can get an iPhone.
Oh,
So then parents was like, oh, what am I going to do? It's true. She can get her iPhone.
it
It's
is
expensive.
true.
It's
What do
true.
you say to that, right?
Correct. But parents know that it's not right. So
Yeah.
then I just asked the mom and dad and I said, would you consider perhaps once they're on internship after the first month, let them pay for some of their meals. Let them pay lah for a few meals,
Financial independence.
Then you realize how much food costs out of your few $100s that you
and then
earn.
you might not have enough left for an iPhone.
Yes. So let them do that. And not give them a bit of real life responsibilities, but
that's true.
scaffold it for them, right? So your typical mainstream population, broadly, it would be like that. And then of course we look at the disability sector.
Yeah.
So for the younger children, it starts with really identification. The
Okay.
very young ones. It also depends on which end of the spectrum they might be at in terms of understanding.
Of course.
So some of the really young ones, it even starts from collecting tokens. They may not understand money yet,
Yes.
but they would understand tokens. You get
Yeah.
a star for doing this,
Yeah.
and then you collect stars, you get something
They
else.
understand the concept of earning.
Earning, yes. And it has to be very tangible. So for the really young ones, when we work with schools and social service agencies, early intervention centers, we explain to them that try to build things that are very tangible and immediate. If you do something, you get a star,
Right.
you get a reward.
Yes.
And the reward could be as simple as a 2 minutes YouTube song to dance to
Oh,
that the
yeah.
kid likes.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be something expensive.
Correct.
Could be
It
a
doesn't have to
sticker.
cost money.
Yeah, correct. So
Yeah.
it starts from concrete and tangible, right? And then as the understanding builds, as perhaps the child grow older, we want to start thinking about, hey, you know how to collect all these points. Can I stretch you a little bit? Instead of 1 star, 1 reward, shall we try 3 stars? Stretch it.
Yes.
And this concept is known as token economy,
Okay.
which there's a lot of controversies around it, to be honest. But
Okay.
I think my take has always been, all of us are paid workers, right?
Of course.
Your boss don't pay you, you come to work, man.
No lah.
No lah, right? Correct. So it's that concept as well.
Right.
You earn something,
Yeah.
you just want to stretch it.
Yes.
So from maybe 1 day you get something to 3 days in a
So
week.
it's accumulation.
Accumulation. You
over
stretch that
time.
delay gratification.
Right.
And this skill is especially important for some of the children in our sector, right? Where they are going out to work. Because when they go out to work,
Yes.
they are not paid every day.
Yes.
They are paid bi-weekly sometimes
Yeah.
for certain jobs or monthly.
And they need to understand that in order to, I need to work a certain amount of time to get the money at the end of the stint, right?
And it's not easy to teach that. So it really
Yeah.
starts from that concrete tokenism and then going into tactile rewards.
Yeah.
And then slowly you stretch it to maybe perhaps praise. And then slowly you stretch it further and
Yeah.
further. So to build that system, right? We do share that across. We encourage centers to approach it with a center-wide approach. That means it's across the board. Everybody is doing it, you know. And then from there, our kids, those are going to work. I think that's important. And
Yeah.
then that's where the misconception also comes in. People then think that, oh, I only need to do this for persons with disabilities who are employable, who are going to go into employment.
No, but everyone needs to learn how to handle money.
Yes, but why?
Yeah.
I think the question is always, they will be then for what?
Yes.
And that's where we kind of explain to them that, first of all, it's increasing this person's opportunity to access mainstream community.
Yeah.
So that they can be out there interacting.
Correct.
Right?
And that's what they
one.
want at the end of the day.
Yes,
They want to
yes.
feel like they are
The
somewhere they
autonomy.
belong
Yes,
as well.
correct. And as well as their dignity of life, they have every right, just like us, to be out there purchasing, making that decision. Do I want to buy this bun today
Yes.
or the other bun?
Yeah.
And how much is it?
Yeah.
They have that same right.
Yeah, the
So-
right to choice.
The right to choice, right? So in education, then we need to provide them the right to education for
Correct.
that.
And the way we teach them has to be different because they
Yes.
just think differently.
Yes, correct.
So that's children, that's educating younger people and really formulating and building the fundamentals. I want to talk about the adults now. And I think this is a bit more of a challenge, in my opinion, because they may be diagnosed late, they may even develop symptoms late. How does a late diagnosis change the way someone might need to approach money?
So for neurodivergent individuals who are diagnosed as adults, generally, like the example you gave, they are already working for many years.
Yeah, okay.
So most of them would be in their 30s to 40s.
Right.
Where in general, you are at the prime of your life, but it's also the time of your life where work expectations can increase.
That's
because
right.
you're at the peak of your career.
And your earning power tends to
Yes,
increase
tends
as
to
well.
be a bit more, right? So with this group of adults, I think the first thing, perhaps the family support. One thing they might want to lean on is, first of all, family support, or if it's not available, any trusted friends that they can speak with. And on top of that, knowing where to seek help for financial advisory.
Yeah.
Right, I think that's quite important. I think the difficult part is you have lived your life for so long with the same set of habits. And how do I then shift from that to my desired state?
Right.
Definitely, you need an accountability partner, lah.
Yeah.
someone to journey
Because
with
you have a lot of stuff to unlearn.
Yes,
as
unlearning.
well.
Yeah. So the unlearning part can also be quite difficult because that's how neurodivergent brains work, right?
Yeah.
Habits. Yeah.
Routine.
Because of pattern recognition is good for some
Yeah.
adults, but that also means you remember certain bad habits.
Yeah, and you don't think anything's wrong with them.
Yes.
Because you've been doing this all your life.
Correct. One thing to also perhaps note is also that financial planning may not be the first thing on their mind.
Yeah.
Because they perhaps finally got an answer to why life has been a bit more difficult and challenging
So
for
they just
them.
want to sort themselves out first.
They may want to
right?
sort themselves out first. Realistically speaking, they may have also spent a lot of money to get that diagnosis.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they do reach out to, let's say if they reach out to someone who may not be in the best position to help them,
Yeah.
perhaps journey with this person to find other sources of support. There are FSCs, the family service centers. If you walk in to ask for certain support, maybe you have to wait, but there are available services out there to say, hey, there are causes you can go for.
Okay. So, how would you advise families to navigate this challenge, right? Because you have a neurodivergent person in your family, used to a set of habits, and now you realize those habits may be not working out for this person. How do I help without making that person angry and upsetting that person?
And you don't want to ruin the relationship, right?
Exactly that, yeah.
So there are two again, roughly two different buckets to this.
Sure.
The first one could be maybe perhaps the individual acquired disability.
Yeah.
So usually when that happens, if caregivers come forward for help, very often it's because loss of income, loss of independence perhaps, and then how do they deal with that? How is this person going to still want to live on his or her own, but what do they do, right? So with that, generally there's a lot more immediate things family needs to look into. Income, whether are there any financial assistance for them. So the conversation for that usually is quite immediate and direct.
Sure.
For the other bucket where we look at individuals who sought for diagnosis on their own, comes back, family knows, and families start wondering, actually, how do I approach this? Because as a family member, you can't also go to the person and say, oh, now that you know you have this, I'm worried about your money.
Yeah, and that makes it all the more unapproachable, right?
Yes. I think the generic thing is to look at it holistically. First of all, in order for any intervention to work, anything you want to share across, rapport must be there.
Yes,
there must be
course,
rapport.
of course.
So perhaps assess the current state of rapport. Diagnosis doesn't change the rapport per se. So let's say if rapport is not really there, perhaps we don't even want to jump into anything you want to talk about. We want to look at building rapport with this family member. Getting to say, hey, how have you been so far?
Yeah.
Let's go out for a meal. Make
I think
things
asking
consistent.
questions
Asking
helps.
questions.
Yeah.
How are you? Heard you went for this diagnosis recently. How do you feel about it? If you don't want to talk, it's fine. It takes time.
Yeah.
Once we assume rapport is established, right, the next step may or may not also be immediately, let's look at how you manage your finances. But rather, you perhaps start from the point of, hey, you went for this diagnostic assessment, must be quite costly. How are you doing?
Yeah.
How is work? Are things okay on your end? If it's not, we are here to
Just
help.
checking if you're okay.
Just checking in. Then that's where the conversation can start. But otherwise, as adults, it's very difficult for another adult to come into your life and say, cannot spend like that.
Yeah.
Because every adult has
Everything
their...
is going to sound like a nag, right,
Yes,
at the end of the day.
So
I think,
prioritize, I would prioritize the rapport building and also checking in.
Yeah,
rather
I think
than
the relationship
lessons.
matters most because you don't want to be combative about it, right, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay, so for a parent listening right now who's worried about what happens to their neurodivergent child financially after they are no longer around, what would you say to them?
Again, depends. This one also depends on which part of the spectrum they are at.
Sure.
For the mainstream kids who go to mainstream schools, teaching them certain money skills, money habits are very, very important. That's one. I mean, we can only do so much.
Yeah.
And then they need to learn independence after the parents are no longer around. Getting their LPA, their wheels done. Future care planning also applies to the mainstream society. For persons with disabilities in the disability sector, a lot of times parents are looking into things like deputyship. LPA definitely, wheels, as well as financial planning, who can be the next of kin to support for some of them.
Right.
And then some of our beneficiaries will live in disability homes. Then
I see.
what are the arrangements they need to think about with the home in terms of financial spendings and all that.
Yeah.
And then there will be your in-between. The in-between where they may do gig jobs, they may do part-time jobs.
Yeah.
And then parents will start thinking, can sustain or not after I'm gone, right?
Correct,
So
yeah.
it's also about setting up a network of support.
Right.
So then parents will have to think about those things. And also the financial literacy education would then likely be lifelong.
What about advice like setting up a trust, making sure that there is that pool of money there?
Yes, definitely. So for persons with disability, within the disability sector, we do have special needs trust company. They look into that for future care planning.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
That's great. And finally, for the adults, the neurodivergent adult who is listening to us right now, who never really felt like conventional financial advice was written for them, right? What do you think they should do?
So most of them who would have thoughts like this, likely they are in employment because they have to manage their own life.
Yep.
Many times I would say they need to know what their priorities are. And if they need help, definitely turn to a trusted member in their family. And if not, they can reach out to social service agencies who would then be better positioned to help really understand what is the need. So for those individuals, if they're just not really sure whether this particular financial advisor is telling them the right thing or not, do their own homework.
Right.
Do homework and speak with someone else. Always speak with another trusted adult.
Yes. Who knows you and your condition?
Yes, exactly. Or even better, if they have a social worker with them, perhaps something that they want to bring up to their social worker or any support group that they're with. Definitely want to bring that up to those people around them.
That's really, really great advice. I'm so glad we had this conversation, Faith. Thank you so much for this eye-opening episode on the Money Talks podcast. Really appreciate your time.
No worries. Thank you for having us.
And thank you, our Money Talks community, for tuning in. Now, I have a question for all of you, and this might be a tricky or maybe even sensitive one because you never know whether you actually are on the spectrum or not until you get diagnosed, right? So here's the question. Has financial planning felt like it wasn't designed for you or for someone that you love and it's just not working out? What helped? And what do you wish someone had told you earlier? Let me know in the comments section of wherever you are listening to us from. You can also email us directly at cnapodcasts@mediacorp.com.sg. This is Andrea Heng signing off for the Money Talks podcast. See you next time.